Japanese took a artillery shell and meant for a corregidor and to hit our ship. That's how I become a prisoner of war. I was a prisoner of war for 3.5 years in Japan.
They don't want to waste their bullets, so they use the bayonet to kill the person that had fallen on the way.
I was captured at the Battle of the Bulge. 80% of my outfit was killed, captured, and wounded, 106th Division.
I was in World War II and shot down about November 18th, I guess, and of 44. And was in Stalag Luft III Bavaria camp.
I escaped from Bataan and ended up on Corregidor with my mine plan, and I was captured on Corregidor, and I was a prisoner 3.5 years.
The scars are still there, some permanently, as they gather to more or less commemorate their survival from the horrible indignities suffered at the hands of the enemy as American prisoners of war. These former American prisoners of war, some 2,000 victims of hell on earth during America's wars, gathered with their families in Niagara Falls, New York in the fall of 1989 to renew friendships and remember the price they paid for freedom. The 46th Annual National Convention of American Ex-Prisoners of War drew survivors from throughout the United States. Most were in their 60s, veterans of World War II. Sergeant Ben Waldron, who authored Corregidor From Paradise to Hell, was captured when Corregidor fell in May of 1942 and was sent to a Japanese prison camp in a boxcar.
Approximately 100 men to the boxcar, and 25 to 30 of them died from suffocation. And in July of 44, I left for Japan aboard a ship. It took us 62 days to get to Japan, and when I arrived there after 62 days in the hole, this is what I looked like. The Japanese took this picture of me and put it on my records. We got about 700 grams of rice a day, and of course we supplemented it with whatever we could catch during the day, mice or rats or snakes or anything we could eat.
I have the Purple Heart and some other situations from that.
Robert Anderson, Army Air Force bombardier shot down over Germany in 1944, ended up in Bavaria camp in Poland in Stalag Luft 13. His thoughts on a popular TV spoof, Hogan's Heroes?
It's entertainment, let's put it that way. Very, very little of it is realistic. I think you have to take it with a grain of salt.
I'm with the American veterans called the Fighting Bastards of Bataan, the Philippine Scouts, under General MacArthur and later on General Wainwright. I was captured near the foot of Mount Samet in Bataan. I was on the 4th March suffering from malnutrition, dysentery, and malaria. When we are to be taken to Camp O'Donnell, I escaped because I know I won't survive because of my illness.
Nicholas D'Alessandro was a teenage sailor and a minesweeper in the Pacific when the Japanese sent his ship to the bottom. And how was your treatment?
It wasn't good.
Any,
I'm very careful what I say because I don't like to talk about it.
How about the POW situation? Do you think that should be brought out every so often and let the new generation realize what went on?
You better believe it. The simple reason is there are a lot of kids in grade school today don't know anything about what happened during World War II in Vietnam and Korea. They don't know a thing.
I was on Fort McKinley in the Philippines when the war started. Pearl Harbor was bombed that morning. We were bombed that night. And a week later started retreating. I ended up on Christmas Eve Day on Bataan.
Army nurse Lucy Wilson Jopling missed becoming a prisoner of war by 36 hours. When the Philippines fell, she was aboard a submarine headed for Australia. However, like General MacArthur, Lucy returned.
And January 1st, 1944, I was on my way to the Wild Blue Pacific again, and any island in the South Pacific, I hit it just about. And got to help fly out the prisoners of war in February of 1945, and that was the highlight of my life.
I'm just finding out now that her husband was with you in a POW camp?
Yeah, we were prisoners together. We were captured together. And he died some 4 years ago from the results of his imprisonment, yeah.
Arnold Boxall was captured by the Japanese while serving aboard an army vessel off the shores of the Philippines. He survived 4 or 5 so-called death marches.
There were approximately 25,000 Americans captured and 9,700 come home at a prison camp. They were quite inhuman in their treatment of us. I'm only speaking about those Japanese at that time under those circumstances. I was about 98 pounds when I come home and spent almost 2 years in and out of hospitals.
This was Louis Paluzzo back in 1944 following his capture by the Germans during the Battle of the Bulge. And here he is today, a survivor. And where were you taken? What prison?
I was taken to 4B at Frankfurt on the Oder, and then I was transferred after 2 forced marches to Lucca, 50 miles south of Berlin.
What is that contraption with cans and so forth?
That's what they call a blower, and it's built on a wheel, and it causes a little fan, which was made by the GI, and we would get a cup of the hot water and make the instant coffee, but to heat water would be a problem. But by that machine, we heated it.
Francis Cole was an infantryman when captured by the Germans during the North African campaign. He was imprisoned in Sicily and north of Rome before escaping.
We hid in different caves. Then we'd stay there maybe 3 or 4 days, and then we'd move on to another cave.
Survivor Francis Cole showed us a picture taken when sheltered by an Italian family. One of the escapees who failed to make it home was his brother. Highlighting the occasion was a march to the Rainbow Bridge connecting the United States and Canada, where the American ex-prisoners of war met with their Canadian counterparts who were hosting their own convention in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Gathering in the middle of the span, former POWs from both nations joined hands in the memorial service. David McLean of London, Ontario was in the Royal Navy convoying from Canada to Ireland in 1941 when his ship encountered a German cruiser.
And she just literally blew us out of the water.
And where were you taken?
I was picked up in the water, taken to Germany, and I was 4 years and 2 months a prisoner of war.
How was your treatment?
It wasn't very good, I can assure you on that. You had to work very hard, sometimes 16 hours a day. Our soup was pathetic, and that was about all you got, that and a slice of bread.
Bill Connolly of Burlington, Ontario, was on a destroyer with the British Home Fleet when his ship was sunk by the Germans in the English Channel.
We were imprisoned in Germany in a place called Marlag and Melag Nord, in between Bremen and Hamburg. It was strictly a Navy camp. And during our stay there, I met about 12 American boys that were also prisoners, and they had been taken off the coast of Florida.
I was taken prisoner of war on the Dieppe raid on August the 19th, 1942, on the French coast. And I was going to shoot this German who was only about 50 feet or 40 feet from me, and he hadn't seen me, and I looked on the other side, and I spotted about 500 guys with their hands up, so I thought, well, if I shoot him, they'll machine gun the whole works. So I decided, well, I might as well throw it away and go up with the rest of them.
How was your treatment during your 3 years internment?
Well, the worst part was, the very worst was the march in 45, which we call the Death March. And they were pushing us anywhere from 20 to 27 miles a day, walking in slush, at least around about 8 to 12 inches deep.
Any bitterness?
I don't know whether you'd say bitterness. I've been back to Germany and visited with the people, and I don't think I have bitterness. They were fighting a situation probably much like we would have.
I'm not bitter against the Japanese today. I was pretty bitter the first few years I was back, but I realized that the men that we fought were entirely a different breed of people than what the Japanese are today.
No, I'm not bitter against anybody. I think the whole world could live side by side very easily. Look, you proved it today. This should have been done years ago.
You're a survivor.
I'm a survivor.
I can forgive the Japanese because my faith and religion teaches me to do that for what they did to me. But I don't think I have the right to forgive them for what they did to the other guys. None of us consider ourselves heroes. We consider ourselves just survivors. And I think the only heroes in the whole epic are those men who didn't come back, who gave up their tomorrows so we could have our todays.